Welcome to the Racing Nuggets podcast. I'm PJ Noodleman, joined by my co-host, Mr. Dan Flan from the Midwest Racing Connection. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, everyone.
You always look so professional with your collared shirt and everything. I feel like I'm not polished enough here tonight.
I just took my Crosse Speedway t-shirt off.
Well, you should have kept it on for our guest here. Joining us on the Racing Nuggets podcast, it is the one and only from La Crosse Speedway and the famous Deery family from Rockford, Chuck Deery. Hello, Chuck.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Well, I wanted to first ask, where are you sitting? That is an amazing room.
Well, thank you. This is, I have my workshop I have a little workshop on some land, and clearly I have a passion for deer hunting. And so I built this little area in here to keep myself warm and have food and perhaps take in some fermented beverages. And so we put this together, and it's kind of a focal point for us for deer hunting.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I'm assuming you harvested all of those deer mounts that you have there.
One's for my new son-in-law and one's for my son, but it was just it's dumb luck hunting, and we're fortunate where we're at here in western Wisconsin to have some nice prime hunting land, and we're able to knock down a few nice deer.
Yeah, you mentioned your son-in-law and your son. Both of your kids, are they married now?
Yes. Both. My daughter got married 2 years ago. My son got married this June, and so it's been. It was great because my daughter got married in November, so it wasn't into the race season, and my son Nick got married in June on a Saturday. It was the first family wedding I was able to go to in 40 years during the summer. So it was there was a lot of smiles that I was able to go do it. And of course, I was going to go to my son's wedding no matter what, but
right.
I didn't have the commitment of being at the racetrack, and so it was a nice relief. But
retirement has been fun for you so far, it seems.
It's been busy. I still go to the track about 4 hours every day, and then I'm helping with the Rockford where I can, when I can. I'm doing the online souvenirs, and I thought that would be a simple and easy project, which it's not. But I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying it and stuff, and you get to sell or market the last lap of Rockford Speedway to everyone in the world, really. And it's interesting to see where the people are buying stuff from, and I'm just happy to get out the the products to them at rockfordspeedwayshop.com, by the way. So
did you accept the position at Walmart that you were talking about last year, or did that kind of waste?
Not yet. I haven't applied there yet, and I don't know if they'd take me because I don't know. I may not be qualified enough.
So funny. You're talking about family. What is that table there behind you as well?
This one here is back when trail cameras first came out. We had them on this property, and the kids would like to go in front of them and do goofy faces and what have you. And so I wanted to capture those memories. So I made a table with all the photos, and so it's been there for some 20 years now. So it's always a focal point when folks come up, and we sit out and have some social events here, and it's fun.
You are a sentimental man, aren't you, Chuck?
Oh, to the core. Yeah. I never thought I would ever cry at anyone's wedding, but I was a ball of tears for my daughter and teared up for my sons. And, family friends got married a couple. I caught myself crying like, holy cow, what a softie. But it's, I'm passionate about things and passionate about friends and work and what I do. And, it goes to the heart sometimes.
Yeah. And speaking about all that sentimentality, with Rockford Speedway closing, talk a little bit about what that's been like for you.
Painful. It's painful. It's hard to see your family farm or whatever we work so hard at as children and now with my brother and sister there, to have it end. It's just that empty feeling in your stomach. Every day we get closer to the last day, it gets tougher, and there's no, we're not happy about it, but it had to be done. The track itself, or the facility itself, it was in dire need of repair. Private well, private septic, the property taxes. You work nearly half the year just to pay for the property taxes and hope you got decent second half of the year to make any money there. And it's just the pressures of the economics of the times. You know, my brother Dave's the youngest of the family. He's going to be 60 this year. There's no one really interested in taking over in the family. And sadly, it's it's just going to be a thought after this. You know, a lot of great memories. Millions of people have gone through there. A lot of smiles, a lot of great competitors, great competition. So it's been tough, but you know, we as a family have been very proud to be able to host the events we have there and continue to for this year. It's not like we just said, oh, we're done. We wanted to give everyone, let them know that this was the last season, and again, we're glad to be able to do it, but it's tough. It's tough. I probably go down there once a week, once every other 2 weeks now, but just try to help out and do what we can. My brother Jack has been very critical, or very not critical, I don't know, right, very active down there helping Dave and Sue, because they got to run the operation, and there's so many other things that are going on with it being starting to liquidate some of the buildings out front. And we just met with the developers here on Monday, and you look down and it was just like someone drop kicked you in the stomach, and you saw where the roads are going in, where the speedway was going to be or is now not going to be. And so it was tough, but yeah, life moves on, and it's just been a great memory for those involved. And you know, we're not going to make it a negative out of it. It just happens. So
yeah,
we'll just move forward.
Two things. First one is living or working in Illinois in and of itself is a bit of a challenge, I think. Anyway, they have incredibly high tax rates, so I'm sure that didn't probably help either. No. And we don't need to, I mean, that could be a whole podcast in and of itself, but we won't go down that road. But as you were talking about some of those outbuildings there and taking those things down, I mean, you were one of how many brothers did you guys have?
There's 7 boys and 1 girl.
Yeah. So I got to believe there was a lot of shenanigans as kids. What are some of your memories that are going to be indelible for the rest of your life as kids there?
You know, it's you know, it dealt with your brothers and hardworking circumstances, and I guess, you know, we just worked hard as kids growing up. My parents would not allow us to slough off. I mean, we had to learn how to work, and so doing that was good. Of course, we've had our, you know, few disagreements, but brothers will do that, or family will do that. But we don't hold any grudges or anything like that. It's just the only thing I could say that really brings a smile to my face is when we were about a month ago, we had to work on the lodge building out front. So 4 of the brothers were there, including myself, and we're working, doing all that stuff. And it was kind of like a throwback to 1980, where we were all working at the track and at the lodge, at the reception building. And at the end of the day, we all had a beer and stuff. So it's kind of neat to work with your brothers that you did 40 years ago. And you know, so that was neat. But, you know, it's no different than any family business, family farm, as we always called it. And it's yeah, it was there's a lot of great memories. You go walk around, you see the cement. Anytime we poured cement, you know, you put your handprints in there or your initials. So you'll see a CJD or BPD or DPD or whatever our initials in the cement, or up on a ceiling, you look up where, you know, one of the brothers signed it. Jack was here in 2000 something or 1997. So it was that's kind of fun stuff for us to do. But But again, it's going away, and we're going to move forward, and it'll be a little bit different for racing in Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Are you cutting some of that stuff out to save, like that, the little handprints and things?
Some of the stuff, yeah. Yeah, we don't know. Hey, that's just it. You have 50 years or some of memories, and what do you take? What do you keep? And you know, I have a few items that make me smile, and otherwise I got enough stuff piled up. And
what are those things that make you smile that you kept? I'm curious.
There's some tools that we used when we were at the track, some old antique type tools. I have some of the Rockford Speedway signs. When we were I can't remember how old, like high school or even before grade school, my dad would throw us in the van, my brother Brad, myself, and Dave, and we'd go out and put up Rockford Speedway signs, opening signs. This day we went north, this day we went south, this day we went east, this day we went west. And so some of those signs, I have some of those. I have one of them that on the back side of it, my dad did a pie chart or a chart on who's in charge of the pits and who's in charge of the bathrooms and who's in charge of this. And it's all in his handwriting, and it's got all the names of the people who I looked up to when I was, you know, in grade school and high school. And so that was cool. I'm glad I have that, and some signage and stuff like that. But, you know, I have enough stuff. A few things from the family that just put on my wall someplace.
Yeah. Well, you got the memories, and nobody can take those away from you.
Yeah.
What a childhood. I just, we talked to Jack already, and we've had Susan on here too. And listening to their stories, I just think how cool to grow up almost like in a carnival setting in the summertime, or even when you guys took your vacation. Sue was telling us about that, going down to, it was a business vacation.
Yep.
But amazing that your mom and dad were able to do that with all of you kids. That's just astounding.
Well, you know, Jack and Sue were treated like king and queen all the time. They were the special children for some reason. But no, it was, but my parents were Wisconsin dairy farmers, and my mom used to plow fields with horses when she was a kid. So they knew hard work, and they just passed that on to us. And we like to think that we work as hard as they did, but I'm sure they worked twice as hard. And you're right, it was a unique experience to grow up in the motorsports world. You meet a lot of people, and it's amazing how you run into somebody somewhere and, oh yeah, I know Rockford Speedway, and you know, I know one of the Deerys, and so it's cool to have that notoriety, notable. Well, you know what I mean. And so it's, you know, it's not what we were for. Ultimately, our goal always was, whether at lacrosse or Rockford or wherever we're involved with Tom with the dirt and Jack with the tracks he ran. Our goal was to entertain the people. And that's one thing our father beat into us, was entertain the guests. And so we work very hard at doing that. And we take a lot of pride because we entertained a lot of folks and continue to do so.
And you did a lot of experimenting, even at lacrosse. I can remember when you were trying to come up with stuff, and you had like the airbags, and you were putting stuff on the airbags to see what would happen with that.
Well, and that's the fun part. You know, you get to think of some stuff. I will be the first to admit there are many failures that I carry on my shoulders for stuff like that. But it's fun failure. Okay, so it didn't work. Move on, run a race, do what's next, and that's just it. And ultimately, you got to put yourself as a promoter, put yourself in the grandstand, and you know, if I'm a race fan, this is how I want to watch a race. Like Oktoberfest, that's designed for race fans. For our weekly racing at lacrosse, that's half race fans and half casual. So you got to do your novelty events and other fun stuff. Start on time, end on time, not a lot of gaps, keep the folks entertained. So that's just, the philosophy that we were raised on, and our business model that we used at La Crosse and Rockford and like wherever else the brothers ended up.
I remember asking you several years ago at Speed Weeks where you had come up with the idea for street drags, and you're like, just an environment like this, a couple of promoters sitting in a bar drinking beer and scribbled stuff out on a notepad, and that's where it came from. It wasn't.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You talk to the promoters and stuff and see, because they've tried stuff too, and that's exactly how street drags came about. We were drinking beer and at the RPMs in Daytona, and I can't remember the track. There was a track in Florida. He said, well, we're going to try these deals where it's 300 feet or whatever, just cars off the street. I said, that's a great idea, man. I think it's going to work. But I didn't do it. I let him do it first to see if it worked, and then it worked for him. Then okay, so we'll go into it from there. So yeah, and of course in this industry you meet a lot of people that have the similar love for the sport, and a lot of promoters that have given their heart and soul, and I have learned so much from all the promoters across this nation. I mean, just the smallest tidbit of things to something large. And so it's anything that I did at La Crosse, somebody else did someplace else first, most likely.
Your dad, obviously the king of innovation in that regard. And he was the one that came up with the trailer race of destruction, right?
Well, he had passed away in '84. The story behind the trailer race is I went overseas and studied for a semester in England, and I went to a racetrack over there, and they had a caravan race, which was trailers. And I was like, "Ooh, this is good." So we came back. Came back the spring of '84, and with my brother Tom, because he and I were setting up the schedule with my dad's approval, and said, "Yeah, let's try this trailer race deal." And I remember thinking, well, where are we going to get these trailers? So I went out and I had to buy some trailers. And I remember my mom yelling at me about, you spend $100 on a trailer. It's a piece of junk. But Mom, this will work. And so we ran the first trailer race. And I actually sat in the grandstand and watched the people watch the race. And I knew we were onto something good there. So, but brother Dave and brother Tom took it to the next level at Rockford, and we just brought it up to La Crosse and stuff. So it is anyone that runs a trailer race is an excellent promoter. I mean, it's such a good event. It makes you all look good and stuff. But it's a cool event, and that's what the boat race spun out of that, because we had all these boats left over. These fiberglass boats do not wreck, and so we got the boat race. So now it's kind of like a trailer race light. But just all these ideas that spin off of certain events, and it's good. But you know what? There's nothing like a 25-lap late model feature. When they come for that green flag, does that get your heart pumping?
It does.
Yes.
And watching the whole field work their way through, and I get just as much excitement out of that as I would out of a trailer race.
I would agree with that.
When you started working at La Crosse, was that your first foray away from Rockford Speedway, or had you worked elsewhere before?
No, I was at Rockford, and then the lease opened up at La Crosse and John McCarn's, and my mom signed a deal up here at La Crosse, and so I was, I think, 26 years old, and moved up and took over, and it was a learning curve. I had to grow up fast. I had to realize right away that if this business failed, it was on my shoulders. So the decisions I made had to be my decisions, so I could live with myself knowing that either it didn't work or it worked. And so I was very adamant about doing things my way. And I could have had a little more flexibility, but I didn't know any better. And I don't think if I had to do it all over again, I'd do anything different, because ultimately it would have failed. It would have been my fault. And I'm not I'm not keen on that. So
And
I
that
worked
had
hard
to
at
have
trying to
been
make it better.
that had to have been a bit of a challenge because I believe the late model class at that time that you were running on Saturday nights didn't really exist in the La Crosse area.
No, the first night was Wednesdays only. It was CWRA.
Oh, okay.
And
With
then the next year
CWRA?
we ran some Saturday night stuff without the CWRA.
Okay.
And they got mad at me and sent me a letter that they're never coming back. And then we got into the NASCAR in 1989. And I remember telling the drivers at the drivers meeting, hey, we're going full boat Saturday nights racing at La Crosse. We'll do some Wednesdays for CWRA if they want to. And they're like, oh, I don't know, this is a CWRA track. And I said, well, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. So, yeah. And then, of course, I did something that it was being done at some sort, but I kind of made a rule book that was enforceable. And then I had a boycott from a sportsman division. And they all told me, hey, we're not going to race here. I said, okay. So I dropped the division and had to fill in the next year with not having the sportsman. And then I brought him back and was able to give me a fresh start and say, hey, fellas, this is it. We're going to race here. And it wasn't I was trying to be a hard ass or trying to do this, but if you're going to be running an operation and you want the cars to be a certain way, I mean, you're going to have to do it the way you want it done. Again, that goes back to, if it didn't work, it was going to fall, it was a failure, it was going to fall on my shoulders. And there was no joy and a lot of sleepless nights. God bless my wife for having patience and understanding. Because there's some dark times there, but it's all part of the game. On the other side, you'd run an event and you think, okay, this would be just a okay Saturday night event, and the grandstands are full and people are having fun and they're talking about it and like, wow, okay, this is working out. So it's been a roller coaster ride of emotions. But when we first got there, my young wife and I, 1 year and doing it was a bit of a challenge. You're an outsider. I was a fib. And so you make some friends, you make some enemies, but that's part of life and part of doing business and making decisions.
It's not an easy row to hoe. I mean, let's bring back the farming analogy on this. I mean, you were kind of in uncharted territory. You're plowing the ground for the first time, basically, with a lot of different ideas. And I applaud you. And I think the other thing is, and I recently wrote about this in Dan Plan's Midwest Racing Connection, about how people are so quick to complain and bitch and piss and moan about stuff, but they don't necessarily get the full story to understand the how and the why of it. And it's one thing to just, comment on it. It's another thing to outright, I'm going to boycott and try to rally the troops behind that, when you don't, I don't know. I mean, it's, unless you're walking in somebody else's shoes, you almost have to give the benefit of the doubt because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So you got to get everything. That has to be hard.
Yeah. But this goes to any decision that I had to make that took a lot of thought process. I didn't do it on my own. Again, this was a team effort from John McCarnes and Tom Deery and Jack Deery and my mom and Steve York and all promoters across the nation. I would call them up and say, hey, I got this going on. What would you do? And so I got as much information I had, and anything we did or have done and will do, it's not done for the moment. It's done for long term. Is this what we're doing to make the racing better? It's like the sportsman deal we're doing now with the 22-second rule. It's an awesome rule. The racing is great. It's a different style of racing. And but it's not like we flipped over and just, let's just try this. No, we did some research before we did it and looked into it and like, okay, this is the best course of action for. So, it's, I can only speak for myself and I can't speak for all the racing promoters of the nation, but we have a vast pool of talent that walks in your shoes every week, and to tap into that for decision making or questions would be foolish on anyone's part. And you get some totally opposite opinions, but it's more information for you to make a better decision on your part. So
yeah,
that reminds me of one of the great Chuck Deery comments I heard several years ago. I think it was an election year, and everybody seemed bitter. And you said something like, this political party doesn't like that political party. Cats don't like dogs. Dogs don't like cats. But we don't care. We're going racing. And that's what I'm there for. I don't put all that stuff aside. I just want to watch racing.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the fun business. This is fun for the fans that get to watch. They get to watch more than Team A against Team B. I'm not going to sell racing to a racing group here, but man, you got cars on the racetrack battling for last place is actually exciting, and it's just a cool sport to be part of. And I think we have a huge advantage because we don't have Team A versus Team B. The biggest disadvantage we have, and I may hurt some feelings out there, is motorsports, for the most part, is the only non-government subsidized sport out there. You tell me one baseball team, football team, stick and ball team that's not playing in an arena that was built by taxpayers or funded by sales tax or anything like that, even down to Little League. And I'm all for Little League. I'm all for all the sports and stuff like that. But the diamonds those kids play on are public ground, and racetracks are not. It's the last true bastion of American entrepreneurship in sports. And it's just, it drives me absolutely nuts. And Rockford Speedway is a classic example. They built a $17 million or X million dollar baseball stadium down the road that taxpayers pay for. They got an arena in downtown Rockford that the state bought and pays for, and bring in the Chicago Blackhawks, whatever, the Ice Hogs, that team down there. And you're competing against that kind of stuff. How do you compete against the government funding all these other events? So I always whine about that. And and the race teams, they're on their own. They are on their own. They supply the cars and the teams, the sponsors. They finance themselves to be out there to do it. I mean, it is truly 100% an American sport, and it's not a game, and it's a sport. And I applaud the race teams for doing that, because it's hard, but they have that passion. And to the race teams, what competitiveness that those fellows have. I mean, everything for them is such a competitive atmosphere. And in that vein, it's amazing that there's less tension. There's not as much tension as there could be. And there's a certain respect. They respect each other to a certain point. And of course, if you misbehave on the racetrack, you might get right reared too. But the game is played different. And so it's, my hats off to the race teams for doing it, whether it's a guy that comes out and does the high school or 6-shooter on the quarter mile across or a dirt track, whatever, to, an ASA team or whatever. It's just, it's just, that's the part of the sport that I think is just totally overlooked and underestimated on what they do every week to bring the car to the racetrack.
A lot of heart.
Off my soapbox on that one.
No, I love it. I love it. I think that's great. And there's a lot. I agree. There's a lot of heart and soul in all of the people who make up the colorful characters that are our racing community, for sure. You mentioned
it's the racing papers that need to work on it a lot harder.
I'll get right on that.
You mentioned that high school, and now we've got that high school racing association, which is super cool. I know I would have taken part in that if it was available when I was in high school. Would you have done it too, Chuck?
No, I was too busy selling popcorn and that kind of stuff. So, but that being said, you got boys at a racetrack on a Monday and Tuesday, and there may be some cars laying around. We took a few laps out there once in a while, but we would get in trouble as well. So we've turned a few laps. I turned more laps at lacrosse. I actually
would
ran
like
an
to hear.
enduro with John Darby.
Get out. You did not.
My brother Tom, myself, and John Darby, we put together a car and ran it at Madison.
What happened? Tell us more.
I got spun out, couldn't get it fired up. And
I'm guessing it was Barta. Barta probably spun you out.
it was Barta. Yeah. So that was,
wow.
I can't remember what year it was, but it was that was a hoot. No one's ever known that I've raced that's the only racing I ever did.
Did you race under like a false name? Like, did you race under a false name like Duck Cherry or something like that?
We did use false names, but I don't remember what it was. I don't remember, like, Rock McFadden or Rex Cars or something.
Rex Cars. Oh, sugar. That's funny. Chuck, you are so much fun. I think a lot of people have never really gotten to see your fun side. I feel kind of privileged in the sense because I used to do a radio show out at the track every Saturday night, and we'd be hanging out late after the races. And that was when I actually got to see more of who you really are. And you're a lot of fun. And that's a side that I don't think a lot of people probably didn't really ever get to see. But I think just even in this interview, we're actually seeing that fun really shine through. It's got to be kind of liberating to you to be able to kind of be able to just let your guard down now and be that guy, huh?
Yeah, it's a little hard. I mean, it's not that I was trying to be, when we were racing, that was work, and work needed to come first and stuff. And you want to have fun during work, but truth be told, as soon as those cars hit the racetrack or fans came in, I was concerned that no one would get hurt and everything would be okay. And you worry about the weather and you worry about all the potential things that can happen. So there's a lot of pressure, not on just my mind. Anyone that operates a racetrack has this going on in the back of their head. Like, okay, is the ambulance here on time? Is the safety here? Are fire extinguishers going to work? It just, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And I would like to, and I would love to always go and have a beer with the race teams after. But if I had one beer with this team over here, and that team over here saw it, it was going to be a bad deal.
Favorites.
So I stayed. I didn't want to do that. I can tend to give people some craps once in a while, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing that, some social interaction. But you'd make a joke with somebody, and 5 minutes later you're reading on the internet that I was making fun of hot dog vendors in Brazil or something. Who knows? But it's just, I just wanted to keep myself neutral.
Yeah.
And when I get to retirement, when I'm not at the racetrack and really don't have much of a say in it, then I'm going to really breathe a sigh of relief. And I'll get to go to other racetracks. I never got to go to other racetracks because I was working Saturday nights. I could have slipped over to Slinger or whatever, but I'm not going to hit them on their special shows. I want to go see a weekly show. And I am a race fan, and I want to go see some other stuff, and it's coming. And I'm looking forward to it.
What's on your bucket list to go see? Which tracks?
Anyone. I just like go to start driving and just go to some dirt tracks in Iowa. Any racetrack, any race. Anyone that I've ever been to I was working at. So it's as a race fan, I want to go and just sit in the grandstands and have my beer and popcorn and then watch some racing, and we'll see. But I may even, they're running a little bit behind. I may go up and help them in the grandstand or up in the tower or up in the concession stand. I don't think I can sit back and be idle, but who knows? I
gotta tell you, Dan and I have both said this countless occasions whenever we've gone to other tracks. The first comment when it's like a show that's like lagging or they take an intermission or something like that, we will look at each other and be like, well, this is obviously not a Chuck Deery production. Because intermissions drive me insane.
Yeah, you have your own business philosophy and why you do it and what have you not. But again, I put myself as a race fan, what I want to see. And, if you're watching TV, you get annoyed by commercials, or, you want to watch the product. It's a live sporting event, and it needs to be a live sporting event. And so I'm not a fan intermissions, but I can understand, like dirt tracks. I understand when they have to work the track again and make it happen. And some other tracks, maybe it's part of their economic program or policies or business model that they can sell, an extra hot dog. But I don't think that affects it. I think you sell more tickets, which helps you sell more hot dogs. And that's always how I thought about it. And right, wrong, or indifferent. And again, if it was going to fail, it was going to fail my way. And so far, we're a couple more hot dogs, and I think we're going to do okay this year. So.
Was there ever an idea that you wanted to do, whether it was something to sell at the track or an event to try to do? Was there ever any idea that you never implemented that you're still kind of toying around with in your head?
I tried to get the fireworks, a fireworks show from manufacturers to shoot fireworks off. Company A does their deal, and Company B does their deal, and Company C. And I couldn't do it because the buildings and houses were too close to the racetrack. So that was a very disappointing deal. There's like 4 nights of fireworks of massive, and I tried to do that. If you notice, I don't do bus racing. I'm not a big fan of bus racing. It sells a lot of tickets and stuff, but those things are just they're too heavy. They're just too heavy for what we had at La Crosse, and it just was not worth it to me to do it. And we could do a bus jump or a bus tip over or something, but you drive by something, you see a car or a deal, some type of structure. I'm like, how can I do a novelty event for that, or something along those lines? But that's the entertainment side of the race fan. Yeah, I want to see racing, but wouldn't it be cool to see a car drive into a piano, or a car jump into a pool, or
the pool jump was the first time I saw a pool jump was La Crosse. Yeah. And I was thinking, well, I wouldn't put it past Chuck Deery to have that pool filled with like septic water instead of just regular water, but it was just water.
Well, the first one I did, I paid a guy to go out and catch some carp, and threw the carp in there, and they're flopping on the ground. And I would have filled it again because I got complaints.
I bet you did.
I thought it was funny as could be, but
I would have filled it with Jello. That's just me.
Yeah, we did that at Rockford. We did a Jello jump once, but that stuff's hard to make.
It's hard to make, and the cherry will stain your skin too. We don't need to go into that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we're in the fun business, and good racing and a little bit of a novelty event here or there certainly is puts together a nice package for folks to come out and be entertained.
For sure. So what is kind of the timeline for you? I know you're still kind of helping out by the way, Austin Wells doing a phenomenal job. But I know you're still kind of a guiding hand as needed at the track. How long are you going to continue to sort of be that source for him before you are able to go drive around the country and see whatever you want to see?
Well, that I don't have a for sure answer. I'm still Greg McCarnes and I are still partners at the track, and as long as he feels that I need to be part of it, I'm probably part of it. I don't think I can just stop. I don't know. I know I cannot just stop not doing something working, and so I do like going to work. Up here and stuff. I actually have growing chestnuts, and so that's my new side hustle.
Wow.
And
chestnuts but I need to roasting on an open fire. Are you going to do a Christmas promotion?
Come see me this fall. I'll sell you a dozen or so. So
Chuck's nuts are so tasty.
You know how often I hear that.
I am saving that clip. I'm going to make that my ringtone for Jacqueline.
So besides that, we'll see what Craig has. You know, I can help him. We'll get Rockford done. It's going to take a year to get that all done. I mean, it'd be probably August of next year before we're completely done with the Speedway and the deconstruction of it and all that, sadly. But yeah, I'm going to make myself available to the family first. Greg, wherever he needs me, second. And then, of course, whatever Mrs. Deery wants to, takes precedent over everything. And so it's going to be busy. And I'll still probably help participate at the promoters workshops. I like going to a meeting with promoters and meeting new promoters that are just getting into it and have grand ideas, but are misguided. If I can help them, I would certainly do it. So I'm gonna still be active. I don't see, I don't see me not working, but I don't know what, which is great. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah. And since you are very active with other promoters, I just kind of want to know what is, you got your finger on the pulse of it. Do you feel like we have like that next generation that is going to be firmly in place to help carry motorsports on to the next generation? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the passion for kids with the passion for vehicles is still there. I don't think it's gone away. You look at it with, our street drags or hot rod. The hot rod nowadays, a 4-cylinder juiced up with a chip, and you've seen them down the street. So the passion people have for vehicles is still there. Is oval racing antiquated? I don't think so. I think there's always going to be an interest for it. I think if we really, really, really want to see a resurgence of motorsports, and sorry racers, you're not going to like this, the car's got to be quiet. We got to reduce the noise level, because mom and dad want to bring the kids out, and if they're too loud, it's a deterrent, and but it's part of the game, and it's a rub. How quiet, how loud can you be? So we try to do what we can at lacrosse, and in both ways with the cars and where the exhaust is, and some mufflers, and giving out ear pieces to the kids and what have you. But race cars will always have that perception of being loud. I mean, it could be an electric car. People think it's loud. But I think in that electric cars, there could be a big surge in that too. If you could ever figure out how to race them. But I think it's going to be okay for a while. And then we'll see what the next generation will be. But I've seen it cycle so many ways, and I wish I had a crystal ball and say, yeah, it's going to be great. I think there'll be some more tracks that will go out of business. I think if you're on the dirt track side of things, that's rocking. I mean, that is rocking for the most part. And so it's out there. It's just that the paved racing is different, and it has its pluses and its minuses, and we'll see. I don't see it going away at all. I just think it's just going to have to be refined a little bit more. Probably instead of having 20 events a year, you'll see 10 events at racetracks, and take the risk out, because they are financially very risky to put on every night or every weekend. So that may be the way to go. But who knows? Maybe they'll find some more dinosaurs someplace, and price of gas will go down to $1 a gallon, and that'll help everyone with disposable income and newer cars, and flood the market with old cars, and let's go race them.
Wouldn't that be something? Well, Dan,
not much of an answer, but it's an answer, I guess.
That's a solid answer. It's a solid answer. I I realize you don't have a crystal ball on that either. I just was kind of curious what you were seeing out there for future promoters to be able to kind of pick up the ball and run with it then for the next generation. So I think it's all going to come down to positioning too. You know, you got to position it and promote it. And I think, I personally think guerrilla type marketing is where it's at. It kind of harkens back to kind of what you and your family did, going out and putting those posters up. It's a little bit different. You got to meet people in places where they weren't expecting to be met with that promotional stuff. In my opinion.
You run into people, at least I do, and tell me, oh, I work at the race. Oh, yeah, I've always wanted to go there. And that was probably 80% of the populace. 20% like, I don't know. It's racing and I have no interest in it, which is okay. I mean, that's fine. But people have an interest in it. If you drive a car, how would you not have an interest in motorsports? If you ever parked your car in a crowded parking lot or drove Highway 16 at 5 p.m. on an afternoon here in La Crosse, it's a battle. It's a race to the next stoplight. So I think people have it in them, and just try to convey them that, hey, this is kind of what you do, but come out and watch it, Car Wars, and have fun.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go back a little bit to Rockford when you were a kid, and we can talk and ask this question now because you don't have to worry about anybody being all nose out of joint because you didn't say them. But as a kid growing up at Rockford Speedway, who were some of your race car heroes?
Joe Shear was he was the man. Von Gerke, I don't know if you're car number 7, because he had Snoopy on the side of his car. Wayne Lensing, because he was I think the Roadrunner champion for a couple of years, and then the first Rockford Rules late model, and just watching him, the style of his racing. The Guileys were always very good. The Bilderbacks. I remember I was the announcer when Ricky Bilderback won his first feature. I think he was 16 years old. It was fun to watch that and do it. You meet so many people that, I can't remember everybody. I recognize the cars. Even at La Crosse, I recognize the cars mostly before the drivers. But it was, I would say, because Joe Shear was the man.
Yeah.
And then Wayne Lensing, and I like those other guys too. So it was cool. And I remember the Roadrunner features back then, and there was like 40 cars or 35 cars out there in that quarter mile, and that was cool racing. I will not watch, just for the note, I will not watch a figure 8 race. I am totally opposed. Not opposed. I just won't watch a figure 8 race. They scare the shit out. They scare the heck out of me. And the guys that do it, speaking of chestnuts, those guys got big ones. And it's there's how they do that, and they got it down to such a time. It is so cool. And but I won't watch them. I won't watch them. I think my brothers have the same deal as us. We just don't. It's not our thing. But
you mentioned track announcing, that you were announcing. I did not know that you did track announcing. How long did you do that down there?
Tom and I shifted off on Wednesday nights, probably for a couple of years. Yeah, cool. I thoroughly enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it. And, it's just because you can really entertain the people. You can make a slow race into something exciting. I mean, is that car leaking? And you just try to build some drama into nothing. And I had to do a couple enduros, and I remember there was a problem in the office or something. So I took the mic and I kept announcing. I went down and helped him in the concession stand. I can't remember what it was. I wasn't even watching the race, but it just kept talking, and it was just, oh my, did you see that? Was that? And people are like, they get up and look. And you can't have too much false drama, but you can have some. And but like I said, I enjoyed the announcing and at Rockford. I did it at Fountain City for a year.
I didn't know that either. Oh my goodness. When was that?
Oh, see, my daughter was born in 82, so like around 82,
Wow.
83 maybe. So yeah, it was that was fun doing that too.
I think was that when Sue Emmons owned the track?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Dan Bailey came
Hahn's,
in and filled in. So
Rob Hahn's parents owned Fountain City for a few years back in the early 70s, mid 70s. And he said one of his favorite stories was Carl Fensky, who was one of the more popular guys down there, had a bad call one night, called the Hahn household in Winona about 2:00 in the morning. And Rob's mom, Trudy, answered the phone. And Carl's like, Trudy, I hate to wake you up, but I'm really upset. And she said, don't worry, Carl, we're still up counting money.
Well, I remember him from Fountain City. I remember when I announced her.
Wow.
Was
Dang,
Austin
I'm
going to
learning
call you out of
things.
retirement at the beginning of the year?
No.
For announcing?
It my goal was not to be there, because if I am there, I'm not helping the situation. I'm hurting it. Because Austin's the guy in charge, and he's going to have to make the call. And I'm a phone call away, or if he needs me, I can be there. But that's part of the game is that if you're going to be the promoter, you're going to be the promoter or general manager or whatever you want to put the label to. But and he's doing a fine job.
Are you going to be at Oktoberfest?
I'm working Oktoberfest, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What is your role going to be there?
I have no idea. Crowd fires, mend fences, take care of issues.
I've seen you do everything: empty garbage cans, push a broom. So I'm sure it'll be the same thing.
Just whatever I can do to help. I mean, I'm not too proud to dump garbage cans or, have an intellectual discussion on why a car should be disqualified for having a 1/16 too big of this or 1/16 too small. I mean, it's whatever you need me to do, I'm going to be there. But that's not just Chuck. That would be anyone at the staff at Crosse Speedway. It's not exclusive to me or my brothers or my sister or anything like that. It's just that our passion for the sport is to make it better. The Oktoberfest is such a cool event. We want to continue to do that, make that what it is. And that the whole Oktoberfest deal is a event that if I was a race fan, that's exactly how I'd want to do it. And that's how we've been putting it together for all these years. And you know what? If you're a race fan, it's a pretty darn good event to go to.
Yes, it is.
I concur.
Dang. Well, your kids don't have kids yet, but I can tell already you are going to be a primo grandpa whenever they do.
Well, we'll see in January. I'm not supposed to. When's this getting? She's going to let me know. I know secretly.
She can cut it off.
This will drop. Actually, we got a little bit of time. This won't go out until the 25th.
Yeah, well, it was close enough.
Okay.
Yeah, the kids told me, and I'm smiling.
Well,
which one, Alexis or
I'm
Nick?
not allowed to say that my daughter could be pregnant.
Okay. Oh, you're going to be a great grandpa, but a wonderful grandpa. You really are. There's such a playful side. And the fact that I never knew that you had announced. And I mean, that takes a lot of character and fun. So, oh my goodness, grandkids are going to love that.
Yeah. And actually, if I were ever get back into do it, that's the first job I'd want to do.
Really?
It's the first job I'd want to. Oh, because it is, there's really, you get to be the man, and, and you can, for me, you can do things to make people laugh and enjoy themselves. And what a gift that is, and have fun. And when you got serious things that can happen on a racetrack or whatever, if you can handle that professionally and just make sure everything is proper in the way it should be. It's just such a great spectrum of what it takes to do it, to properly entertain your fans for the time. And I worked with Dan for years on that, and Chuck Tim before him, and then Kieran Clark for him, and then I can't remember.
Chris Clark was there too.
Chris Clark was there for a while, and I learned from those guys too. I mean, on how to do it, and when I ever had the opportunity to go to different racetracks when we were kids, my father would always say, learn from this, and this is part from the promoters workshop too. Learn what the other guys are doing, ultimately to entertain your fans so you can sell tickets.
Yeah.
And if you sell tickets and entertain your fans, you'll be able to stay in business and put food on the table for your family. And so, yeah, I'm just a student of the sport.
Sell tickets, entertain fans, and the rest will fall into place for sure.
Yeah, and a few beers.
Well, that too. Yeah. That too. Well, I look forward to sitting down and having a beer with you sometime soon. Hopefully sooner than later. I've got a dog that I think needs to go potty, so we might be. Dan, do you have other questions?
I don't have any questions. Just want to say, Chuck, I really appreciate everything you've done. And when I first bought the paper some 20 plus years ago, it was just in the Twin Cities, and you were the first one I reached out to see if I could ship it somewhere else, and you gladly accepted it and gone from there.
Well, thank you. And I know we talked a lot about me on this deal, but I want to emphasize that it was not just me. I had such great mentors to help me learn in whatever happened here at lacrosse or wherever else I helped in the motorsports world. It was just me as a collection point for other people's ideas and being able to put it out there. So kudos to the people that brought the sport to where it is. And it's been a blessing for me to be able to work with them and with my family and what they've done at Rockford, except for my evil brother, Jack. So
I did mention that to him when we interviewed him earlier this year, because you told me he was the evil one, and he didn't argue.
No. So we've been working a lot at the Rockford deal, and it's my new goal to give him as much crap as possible. And it's made it a lot more fun. And so sorry, Jack. I'm not letting up, dude.
Funny. Did he ever teach you how to make popcorn the best way that he does?
He is a rookie at popcorn making. 2 years at the Rockford Speedway, #1 stand right here. So he's a rookie. I probably trained him.
I love it. I love it. I want to piggyback kind of on what Dan said there too. I will tell you, I worked in radio for like 25 years. And the best years and the best things that I did were obviously Children's Miracle Network Hospitals Radiothon. But other than that, it was the show at the racetrack and being able to be at the racetrack and work in that regard. I mean, I thought that was like the coolest thing. And I appreciated really getting to know you as well during that time. So I'm happy to call you a friend. And I'm happy for you to hopefully be able to really enjoy your retirement as you settle in. It looks like you've got plenty of hobbies as I glance behind you.
Yeah. And thank you guys and all the other folks that have supported us at the Little Cross deal. Again, it's a team effort. And again, I was just blessed to be able to be in the captain's chair there for 37 years. And we got close to the rocks a couple of times there, but we kept her down the channel. And one note, I bought my first fishing pole 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to go fishing at some point here, but I've never had time to go fishing in the summer. So it's going to be interesting. I may be bored to death. I don't know. But
I have a picture of you doing the country fried fishing.
Oh, that's right. Well, I've gone fishing, but I used your stuff. And and so I never had the time to do it. And quite honestly, trust me, I've owned a lot of boats, but I've mostly put cars through them. And so that was fun. My son-in-law's got a boat now, so we went fishing, and it was different. It was Sunday afternoon, and it was different. it was just, I didn't have to worry about, I guess, part of the retirement deal. So I don't have to worry about, I don't worry as much as I used to about things. And again,
that's a good thing.
But again, thank you guys for what you've done in the past, and Dan with the running paper nowadays. I think you're rocking it. I think it's great. And Jacqueline, enjoy reading your stuff. It's just thank you guys for your contributions to the sport as well. I mean, we're all kind of working together to keep it going and make it as exciting as it is, and expose it to people the way it should be exposed. And so, not that I'm, trying to get free advertising from you or anything like that, but from the heart, thank you for what you guys do.
Of course. One more time, though, as long as we're talking about advertising, what is that website if folks want to take a look at that Rockford stuff?
Oh, you mean where all those excellent souvenirs can be found at rockfordspeedwayshop.com?
rockfordspeedwayshop.com?
Or go to the Rockford Speedway site and look at merchandise. So,
sounds good.
It's keeps me busy for an hour or so every day, but it's cool.
You mean 3 hours, right? So you get paid for 3 hours.
3 hours. Did I? Memory's going.
Well, Chuck, thanks so much for agreeing to be our guest on the Racing Nuggets podcast. You have always been a pleasure to work with, and it's fun to see you move into this next season for yourself.
Well, thank you. And again, I thank you for recognizing that and speaking with me. But it's been a lot of people who have helped me, and I want to say thank you to them and competitors for doing what they've done, and media folks and fans and everybody. So thank you all for being part of this great sport and being part of lacrosse, or Rockford, or racing as a whole. Thank you for what you've done.